Hello people on the internet and welcome to another episode of Concerning Content. Today, Daddy Oscar went deep into the internet mines at the risk of both my mental and my physical health and dug up something truly special for you. I mean, you guys love sexist old men that are obvious victims of divorce court and should probably not have access to the internet without constant supervision of the law. Let's be real, not many people do. But let me tell you, it's one hell of a combination. Allow me to ruin your life more than your father ever could and introduce you to Rom Mills. Rom, or Romy as I like to call him, yes guys, we're that close, is a man in his late 50s or early 60s and host to a channel with over 61,000 subscribers and around 3,000 videos. Don't be fooled by a subscriber count though. His content differs from your usual incel on the internet in a few significant ways. The first thing that stood out to me when scrolling through Romy's channel is the frequency of his uploads. Romy, being a hard-working YouTuber, uploads 2 or 3 times a day and is a perfect case study as to why quality is much more important than quantity. Unlike his fellow virgin friends in the incel community, Romy does not deem it necessary to craft pseudo-scientific arguments to justify his psychotic worldview. No, instead, Romy will carry his potato of a camera along wherever he goes and start ranting into it whenever the impulse arises within him. Think less wheat waffles, another incel, and more Eliot Rodger in retirement. No, literally. Noah Samsen made a great video on wheat waffles, by the way, so if you're interested, go watch that after this video since it inspired this topic. Link will be in the description down below alongside all other sources that I will be making use of. If you ask me, Romy's frequent uploads are an obvious indicator that he is craving validation and very lonely. He feeds off the dopamine provided by the views and comments agreeing with him. Now, of course, this doesn't really come as a surprise. After all, such is the nature of almost all incels out there. The video we will be having a look at today is one of the most successful uploads with the title, "Many Women Have Trouble with True Masculinity." When you look at me, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm the least traditionally masculine dude out there. I do, however, have the opinion that true masculinity is being confident in who you are at your core and expressing that and staying true to that instead of putting up a facade to come across as manly, if you know what I mean. And yes guys, I actually want to look like this. I take pride in my feminine side. So suck my dick, alphas. So naturally, when I saw this title, I had to watch it. And being the masochist that I am, I thought it a good idea to drag you into this cesspool of grey hair, cringe and sexism with me. Just for the sake of transparency, I wanted to tell you guys that I'm going to be cutting Romy's video up to highlight the most interesting arguments that he brings up, and I will be adding some extra context as a narrator of sorts to make the whole thing make sense. I'm doing this because Romy doesn't actually edit his videos. Instead, he just rambles on and jumps from one thought to another without much reason besides them being tangentially related. I deem it necessary for the sake of everyone's sanity to just, do his work for him. If you want the full video, look it up, I guess. I don't really want to give him a shout out or put him in my link, or put him in my description, because yeah.
Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video.
I mean, just look at that intro, guys. Maybe if I started my videos like that, I'd get 61,000 subs in no time. Maybe that's the secret to YouTube's success that nobody actually knows about. And if you're thinking, Oscar, you're just jealous. Well, obviously, man, I bust my ass trying to edit my videos to be as visually interesting as possible and usually work on them for days, if not weeks. And this virgin just does this and gets 61,000 subscribers for an intro worse than the kids Mr. Beast used to make fun of? From now on, I'll adopt his strategy instead. After this awful intro, Romy tells us why this topic is important to him, being a super rational specimen of a Homo sapien. This all started with a dream. This dream of his is even more ridiculous than you might think.
I remember it was me and him leading a bunch of black boys through some undergrounds, and we were being chased by this very large, it's a very large man, a white man that had 8 arms. But 2 of the arms were black.
You heard that right. Aside from the obvious absurdity of this dream, I don't really have much else to say. Romy follows this up by telling us how this dream and many quote-unquote spiritual experiences led him to seek out
manhood, period, and masculinity, period.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you ask me, Romy sure seems like he's the picture book definition of a closeted gay man looking for the perfect man. And even if he's not a little slay on the inside, then I wonder if he considers himself a shining beacon of manhood purity. As a matter of fact, this guy looks like he hasn't touched grass in at least 3 months. And trust me, I know what that looks like. I mean, I'm inside so damn much due to social anxiety and this whole YouTube thing that I don't even know what season it is anymore. Then again, I am not the guy talking about how people much younger than me are not man enough anymore. But Romy does not stop there. No, Romy also has it out for the ladies. According to Romy, this is what feminism is doing.
And see, I know a lot of women out here, they think they like really trying to do something and make things equal. They actually making it worse for themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure that Romy, as a man who has so much experience in being a woman, knows what is good and bad for women. Because after all, why would a silly woman know that, right? But let's hear him out and see why exactly Romy thinks this.
I mean, in so many ways. Because the world is a certain order that's needed in the world. I don't care what your religious background is, spiritual, philosophical thing. You need men to be men and women to be women. No, I'm not a fan of that whole concept of gender fluidity and all that crap. I'm just going to be straight up with you. There's a reason things work. And anybody who calls himself religious or believe whatever your path is, fact of the matter is there's still a natural way. And much of the problems in society is because we've gotten out of it.
There's only one true way this world can be run, and that way is the old way. Our world is going under because of the gays and the females that have drifted from that. I don't mind the fact that this age is the most prosperous age in recorded history. Also, don't call yourself a true believer in any faith if you disagree with me, because I'm right and you're wrong. I don't know what studies say, you're wrong.
Romy finally decides to tell us why he thinks that women have trouble with masculinity. And naturally, his reasons are just as based as you might think.
We have a situation now where women are going for straight power.
And Romy being rational, I'm sure he has great sources to back this up.
And in fact, according to pimps, if you read a book, it's called The Secret World of Black Pimps. They'll say they always saw the world as a secret matriarchy.
Well, I hate to disappoint already. I kid you not. Romy believes this because he read a book about pimps describing the world as such. So yeah, great source, Romy. And then he goes on to add his own anecdotes to this.
And in conversations with men and women from other cultures, I mean, we always talk about the matriarchy in the black community, but there's a secret matriarchy in other places.
I mean, you just really have to love when your ideas hold no weight in an academic sense. So instead of changing your worldview, you decide to cite somebody else's memoir and add your own anecdotes to it. Just say that you're an emotional mess and stop pretending to be an intellectual powerhouse when you're so obviously not. Romy finally makes a good point when he says that most women are scared of men.
I remember she said something interesting because she was told by a veteran of that movement, so to speak. He said a lot of times there's many women just scared of men.
But just as quickly as this rare moment of intelligence and empathy flares up, it is subdued again by his huge ego.
You know, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And it's gotten to the extreme that if a man even stands up.
Oh guys, I'm such a victim. Feel sorry for me, please.
And just tries to be righteous, women are trying to like break him down.
Now, this would be a valid point, if it were true. Now, you can argue all you want that you experienced this happening to you, but you can't deny that this is nothing more than anecdotal evidence. And in good old Romy fashion, this is also not backed up by any source. And if anecdotal evidence is the only kind that we're using, then it's only fair that I use mine. I've seen way more men shit on women as a collective and even as individuals simply for being feminists. I don't see nearly as many femcels hating on men for being men than I see incels that hate on women for being women. As a matter of fact, Romy is doing just that in this video. So who is really tearing the other sex down, Romy? And since my own experience is proof enough, or at least according to Romy it is, we find ourselves in a bit of a stalemate. So let's bring some empirical evidence into this conversation. After all, that's what it's for, right? What is that? 43% of women say that they face discrimination based on their gender, compared to a much smaller 18% of men. I hope in the future you won't behave like a complete idiot and inform yourself before assuming that you know more based on your own biases than actual experts in data collection and their, empirical evidence. After even more anecdotes in a very similar vein, Romy finally moves on to his next point, and this one is even weirder than the last. It's not a surprising one at all though. If you are around my age, or God forbid, even were young ones yourself, you would have heard it at least 500,000 times.
A lot of women will soften their sons to try to make them into what they think is the ideal man.
It's the good old men today aren't real men anymore because they're in touch with their emotions, which, even though I say it like it's a bad thing, is actually a very good thing, since suicide, which is, the leading cause of death in men under 50, is often the result of loneliness, caused by men not being able to open up because they fear of being shunned by men like me, who gatekeep what being a man is all about, kind of argument. Now, he follows this up in true Romy fashion by adding his own anecdotes and even brags about cursing a random woman on the subway out for discussing this with her friend on the phone.
I've even had one woman say that on the phone to somebody else while I'm sitting there. I was like, damn, she bold. She wondered why I cursed her out later.
But then he says this.
A woman's nature is emotional and chaotic. And it's supposed to be that way. But see, it's balanced off by the man who's supposed to be logical, in control of his emotions, and bring order.
Now, obviously this is extremely sexist, but I'm not surprised by that. After all, we are talking about an incel here. What left me dumbfounded, however, was this absence of self-awareness on Romy's part. This entire video, Romy has been doing nothing but venting about his hatred for women for what they supposedly do to men. He's backing up every single one of his claims with anecdotes and has yet to list a, reputable source that actually supports his theories. So, being emotional and irrational in a nutshell. And then he has the nerve to say that women are those things? Romy, my love, your entire channel is nothing but low-effort videos of your emotional breakdowns and obvious biases. Get a grip. Holy shit, dude. I guess it's true what they say. Insecurity projects, and Romy is a shining example of this. Now, as we all know, words are a very weird thing. A word like freedom, for example, means a million different things to a million different people.
Hey Fuse, you want to know why Americans don't knock on doors when they breach? Because freedom rings, motherfucker! Oh hell yeah, you hear that ringing, Fuse? That's not tinnitus, that's freedom. Oh!
So naturally, when Romy says that men are soft, you may be wondering what he means by that. Luckily for us, he gives us a pretty good look at his idea of softness when he says this.
A lot of women want a man not to stand up. She wants him to do what she wants, take out the trash, do all that stuff. She get to go out, party and whatnot. I've actually known women who were married whose husbands would just let them do whatever.
So yeah guys, you heard it here first. Men today are not masculine enough because they allow the woman in their life autonomy over their own lives.
Men are supposed to be the police. Men are supposed to be order. That's our whole thing.
All this time of being a feminist, I thought I became a better person because it allowed me to exercise empathy while also helping to improve the life of all women around the world and thus giving me a purpose. Now, however, after watching Romy, I realized that I was wrong about all this whole time. Now, I realized that I should run my future household like a small dictatorship with me at the top. With his next argument, Romy does something that subverted my expectations. Going into this video, I was prepared for anecdotes because obviously I was. And I was also expecting pseudoscience and of course amateur sociology. The normal incel stuff, only presented by a pensioner in this case. I will edit his repetitions and long breaks between sentences out for the sake of your enjoyment, but other than that, I'm going to let this clip play in its entirety. I take no responsibility for brain cancer that may be caused by your consumption of the following.
If you think about it at a core, what does a man's sperm do? A man's sperm brings order to that egg. Fibroids. Fibroids are just eggs, a woman's eggs that didn't get fertilized, somehow got stuck in there and just kept growing. In fact, you open up a fibroid, it got all the parts of a baby in there, even some teeth in some cases. Particularly a large one. The larger it is, the more you're going to have parts of it, but it's jumbled up. What brings order to that is the man's sperm. That's our nature.
Hey guys, before the video continues, I just wanted to quickly tell you, you might have noticed that the microphone looks a bit different, I look a bit different, I'm wearing the same clothes because I washed them. So basically what happened is my video file corrupted and it kind of sounds like this. Put their work where their mouth is, I guess. Unless of course, and I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to hear that, so I'm just re-recording this entire thing. And that's why things look a bit different. Also, look, I got myself a nice little microphone spider. Doesn't that just look cool and professional? I don't know about you guys, but if I had to attribute the terms chaos and order to our reproductive hormones, I would almost always consider the ovum to be the more orderly one. After sperm enters the uterus, it swims in all sorts of directions, and some might even swim up the wrong fallopian tube altogether. In short, it's a chaotic mess, and it's actually the uterus that contracts due to the release of oxytocin in the brain, thus pushing the sperm into the right direction. So if you really want to make one sex out to be the more responsible one for creating order when it comes to conceiving, it would have to be the female. I'm sorry, Romy, but you're just wrong. Of course, this doesn't matter to someone like Romy. He knows his viewers won't dig too deep into what he's actually saying and just gobble his words up as if they were gospel. In the very beginning of this video, I mentioned how little effort Romy actually puts into his videos. I mean, you'd think that if somebody was actually as passionate about a topic like Romy clearly is, or like he says he is, they'd actually put effort into the way they spread their message. You know, putting their work where their mouth is and all that. Unless of course they're a grifter, putting the bare minimum into it because they know their constant appeals to emotion will do their work for them. But even for somebody like that, Romy manages to come across as extremely lazy. So imagine my surprise when his next talking point is this.
You feminize them and everything. You don't want them to be like truly masculine because you get scared of them. But then when they turn out to be no good, lazy, no good to anybody, then you want to blame everybody else, including the father, instead of taking some responsibility for it.
Now, if you want to point the finger and say that men who are lazy and no good to anybody are the ones to blame for a lack of true masculinity, or masculine purity as you like to say, then sir, I have news for you. You are the problem you're so enraged about. I mean, this really has to be the single biggest self-report that I've seen in a very long time. You complain about men not taking responsibility for what's wrong with society and that is what makes them less masculine. But instead of working on yourself and actually growing as a person, you just project your own insecurity onto the world. Are you not man enough to admit to yourself that you fall short of every single standard of manhood that you made up yourself? Start living up to your own expectations before pointing at anybody. It really sickens me that somebody this insecure and corrupted by hate thinks that he has any authority to decide what makes someone a worthy person in society. After blaming mothers for fathers who are not present, which of course yet again is the antithesis of the whole taking responsibility thing yet again, Romy ends the video. And that brings us to our conclusion. All of the factors combined paint a picture of a man who has severe mental health problems. But instead of working on himself like most people would, he decided to project all of his insecurities onto women. It's honestly a sight for sore eyes, and in my opinion, what's really wrong with society. This kind of worldview has created killers in the past, and it will keep doing so if we don't check our friends when they parrot these misinformed talking points. A quick look at Romy's comment section reveals the disturbing and twisted mind of those that agree with him. I hope that Romy and his fans get help before they do something to themselves or even somebody else. With that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for your time. I hope I made good use of it. Thank you for clicking on this video out of all the videos on the internet. Please consider leaving a like if you enjoyed this. It really helps minuscule channels like myself out a lot. And if you want to be really cool, you can even subscribe and be here before 300 subscribers, and thus reserve yourself some bragging rights in the very near future when I hopefully pass 1,000. I don't know. Wishful thinking. Until next time, love you guys. Mwah.